views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. You are really going to enjoy tonight's show. All our shows, I know, but in particular tonight. Two BronxNet graphics specialists have created a delightful animated series about some of the most well-known places in the Bronx. And, drumroll please, they've been nominated for Emmy Awards. Tonight, we are going to meet them and also show you the absolutely wonderful, innovative creations that show off the best of the Bronx and some of the best of BronxNet. So relax and enjoy. Please join me in welcoming BronxNet's graphic designer who created the series idea, art director Christine Mariani. Nice to have you with us, Christine.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And the student who does the research and sketches, the graphic artist and the series producer is Mariani Feliciano. Nice to have you.
Nice to meet you.
It's funny, Ariana just said, nice to meet you. We never met before. We work at the same station. You probably have created the graphics that are all around me, but it's nice to see you face to face. And the other thing I will just say to start out, Christine, you both sit in front of computers all day.
Yes,
right?
All day.
And what is it that you, aside from this series that we're going to talk about, what is it that you do every single day for BronxNet television?
For BronxNet, well, obviously I manage a team of part-time interns and students that we therefore make broadcast packages. Mm-hmm. So that includes openings, lower thirds, bumpers, those kind of things. Then
logos, graphics, and
all
as
that,
you see all the beautiful BronxNet stuff behind us.
All the static stuff, all the moving stuff that's coming out of our other end of BronxNet.
It really says a lot about BronxNet because here are young people in the Bronx and they're getting an opportunity to do some really cool stuff. One of the main agendas out there is to get young people involved in technology, and that works. So now what about you, Aria? What do you do for BronxNet? Or you just basically work for whatever she says?
Yeah, she's my art director. Generally, I work with, say, the openings. Mostly I've been doing the Get to Know the Bronx series, which has a lot of hand-drawn animation and stuff like that.
That's the one we're going to look at.
Right. But I've also done, I did the opening for Bronx Buzz. I do lower thirds every now and then, and sometimes I work in conjunction with my other colleague, Michael Chico, where we made a couple of other openings and stuff with 3D and 2D mixed together.
Talk to me about your background and what you needed to know before you could get to the point of actually doing this on a TV station.
That's kind of hard to answer because...
I've already stumped it in here 2 minutes and I messed it up.
Well, because I feel like I kind of went in a very informal track. But I've always done digital art, and I've always been partial to illustration, so I always felt it was not going to be on par with a lot of graphic design jobs. But I guess with BronxNet, they really embraced that, and so they sort of...
So you came from kind of a different point of view than, let's say, a traditional TV graphic artist.
So like, right? I don't do a lot of 3D, for example, where a lot of places they really like that, but I do, for example, do a lot of storyboarding and I come up with a lot of ideas. So having that illustration background and character creation kind of like comes in handy in those cases.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about storyboarding, folks, you're really going to learn about the production process. And I'm telling you, don't go away. You're really going to enjoy these. Christine, what about you? What your background that led you to the point where you could work here at BronxNet, doing all the great stuff that you're doing?
Well, I got an MFA in digital media.
From where?
From here, from Lehman College. So from there, then I went into basically motion design, which is graphic design that's animated. So usually I specialize in logo design. I do unlike Aria, I do a mix of 2D, 3D. So that's something that really got me into a lot of television work, because that is a nice fusion to have, being able to do 2D and 3D design. And then obviously being able to add motion to that.
You know, I don't want to overdo it, but it's so encouraging and motivating when we hear about people educated in the Bronx, and now they're working in the Bronx, and they're doing things that help develop the Bronx on BronxNet television. I mean, what a great story, right? So let's talk about this series. So who came up with the idea first? Who said, I think we ought to do a Getting to Know the Bronx series? Or was it somebody else who's not around this table?
No, I think that was very much, I think Aria had the first.
What made you think that that would be the thing we ought to do?
We were coming up with ideas for things to air on BronxNet to kind of mix it up a little bit, and I thought, well, a nice sort of starting point would be, let's do something educational, but related to the Bronx. And I thought, well, we have so many landmarks here. We have so many little factoids that a lot of people don't know. So I did a little research, kind of compiled it in a Word document, and me and Christine kind of went over it together, and we were like, hey, maybe this is something that we can actually do.
And so one thing led to another. How long did it take you to make, I don't know, the first one? Or
Probably a month and a half.
a month and a half.
For
of
the
working on
that
it.
was the green one. Yeah, that one
for
took.
the parks.
Yeah.
For the parks.
Before, and we're going to start watching in a minute, because that's going to be the most fun part of the show. In terms of your research, I find, and I've told many people, say, hey, Gary, how do you know when you've done a good show? I say, I know I've done a good show when I learn something. Did you learn something when you did some of the research? Like, was it eye-opening not only for, we assume, our viewers, but also for you?
It was. I learned a lot of stuff that I did not know about my own borough. For example, like, I live close to the Bronx Zoo. I've been going there since I was a child, and I learned all of these things that I had no idea, like the animal hospital, for example, which just never crossed my mind as somebody that's gone
Which,
to the
of course,
zoo.
you would need to have, but it never occurs to you because you're just throwing stuff to the seals.
So yeah, it has been an eye-opening experience, because I'm still working on
That's
it.
actually the first one we're going to show, as a matter of fact. Turning that vision or that concept into reality. Just give me some background, semi-technical, about what it took to do that. And then we're going to, after this question, we're going to start rolling some video.
Okay, so basically, once we had, our goal was to get a solid pitch episode together that we could show like what was fundamentally our idea. So Aria obviously compiled the list of possible topics and things that were good to start off with. And then from there, we storyboarded. We pulled up we made style sheets or beauty shots. So basically that would be a still shot or a still illustration of what the look of the whole animation would be. And then
and then you did step by step. We'll talk about it as we go. All right, no more suspense. I want people to really enjoy what we're doing. Listen, I got to tell you, they're so used to being in front of a computer, not in front of a camera or behind a camera, that it's unusual for you to be talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really pulling it out of them, too. Do you want to say anything about the Bronx Zoo video before we show it, or we're just going to roll this thing?
It's probably one of my favorites, just look-wise. I had to work on it a little bit longer because of the way that I did the animation, but I don't know, it was really fun for me personally just because of that connection with the Bronx.
All right, here we are. So it's the Getting to Know the Bronx series, right?
Get to Know the Bronx.
Get to Know the Bronx, I'm so sorry. Get to Know the Bronx series from Christine and Aria, but it is really from BronxNet television to you. Well, there it is. You can applaud, as people in the studio can applaud too. Get to Know the Bronx. You whispered while this was playing. That's my favorite one too. What do you love about that video that we just saw?
I think in the series of what we had done, the Bronx parks had a very specific look, sort of more like, I don't want to quite say like an infographic, but it had a very certain style. And this was our first one that we went for the illustrative animation, and it took longer, but it was certainly worth it for all those animated characters that we got to explore.
And big ups to Aria for the facts, because many people go to the Bronx Zoo, and these are really, it's fascinating. It helps us get to know the Bronx. One last question before we go to the next video, which is going to be about the Piccirilli brothers.
Yeah.
I like it. The artists are going, oh. Talk to me about music. Now, the music is there, but it's not just that you got some, extraneous music. Tell me about the creation of the music.
So when we did the first one, again, this is all sort of based on that very first Bronx Parks episode. We were like, well, if we're going to do a series of these, we really want it to have not only a certain visual look, but also the sound should be something that is unique to it as well. So for those lively ones that we have, which is the 4 out of the 6, we had a music track composed. We sent samples that we liked of other things that we're thinking
to
about.
who can we give the credit to the musician?
Of Steve Buonanotte. He's actually a professor here at Lehman.
At Lehman
Yeah.
College.
He's a cool guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really cool.
He did.
All right. Piccirilli brothers. Who wants to give us an introduction for that? Or neither? Because Aria did the research, and maybe people don't know about the Piccirilli brothers. In the
I
Bronx.
believe this was the second one I did.
This was the second
Okay.
one.
Right, and again, this was like another thing. This one I just had no idea about them. So this was
little known, but a very important aspect of Bronx history.
right. So like when I did the research for this one, I was actually really impressed. Like, wow, I don't know any of these people, but like they did these really amazing things, and they're all around the city, and not just in the Bronx, but in Manhattan as well.
And points beyond, which I believe are illustrated here as well. So let's take a look at Get to Know the Bronx, Christine and Aria, and the Piccirilli brothers. Once again, the Piccirilli brothers and the Graphic Sisters here on BronxNet.
I like that.
Television. You like that?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Michael.
You were saying, Aria was saying, that the heads, these are the actual, you took photographs, I guess, of the Piccirilli brothers?
Oh no, I drew them.
You drew them based on photographs?
Yes.
That's what I mean, yeah.
My kind of interest has always been in cartoons and character design. Like that's always what I like. So one of the fun things about the series is I can kind of do that. I can kind of make it a cartoon without making it a cartoon. So in some of them, I go a little bit more the infographic style, but sometimes I really am taking drawing them as if I'm trying to imagine them in a cartoon.
Was it enlightening for you? I mean, listen, the arch over there on Washington Square Park, the lions at the public library, and a little statue called the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. That's an eye-opener, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I learned something from every one of these videos. And that one for sure was knew nothing about that one at all. That was 100% education. Yeah.
All right.
You and me both.
and so next, we're going to just keep going because I don't want to run out of time. I want to show as many of these as we can. Let's go up to the North Bronx, and let's go to Riverdale for Wave Hill. Let's go. These are just so extraordinary.
Thank
We've
you.
all had our trip now to Wave Hill. When you look at, for example, the house at Wave Hill, which is a class, you took a photograph of that, or you looked at a photograph of that, and then you sketched it? Is that how these are created?
For those backgrounds, for the ones where they were taken from photographs, I kind of had to do a couple of sketches. Sometimes I had to overlay to make sure that I got it right. That one was definitely a tougher one, but it was also another personal favorite just because I had wanted to share that because I love Wave Hill so much and I go there all the time.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, so I really wanted to capture the feeling of what it's like going through there, and that's one of the ones where we actually used a real song. We used Gymnopodes, or Gymnopodes 1. I think that's how you say it. But every time I go there, that's like the first thing that plays in my head.
Christine, how much interaction between you and decision making? Or did you say, well, I'll handle this part of it and Aria handle another part of it? Or did you really like sit there together looking at the screen and saying, do it this way?
No, we have very specific roles that we play in this. Aria is producing a lot of this. She's obviously writing the script. She's doing the researching. Once we talk about the style of it. We go, oh, maybe this one should be more illustrative, or maybe this one we want to have this kind of animation in it. So we go back and forth early in the decision process about what's the look going to be. And then once we kind of decide that's what it's going to look like, then Aria just kind of like plows through it.
Wow.
And then when it's done,
I'm just so pleased and impressed.
She helps me kind of keep on track. So because it's very easy for you to get lost sometimes in the
Especially
creative
if you're an
process.
artist and you're thinking about, oh, let's do this.
Yeah, so there are times where I'm just like, I really want to do something, I can't do the thing, and it can get very frustrating. So she helps keep it on track to make sure I'm on time, and
Right.
she also helps at the end when I finish everything. She really kind of helps bring it together and kind of tweak the timing and the editing so that it looks a little bit more coherent. So it's kind of a back and forth.
You know, I just want to mention something. People know me because I've hosted this TV show for many years, and we've done politics and interviews and really traditional TV. But look at the range of things at BronxNet Television. So here's a couple of people who I never met literally before tonight, and they are working on just some amazing stuff. And of course, it underscores the opportunities that BronxNet Television has given to me, but also to so many young people in the Bronx. All right, look, I want to show as many of these as we can. So let's see, we were at the zoo. We learned about the Piccirilli brothers, which is city and nationwide, actually. We went to Riverdale. I think we're going to Fordham now for Poe Cottage, all right? We're ready to go and see Edgar Allan Poe's former home. Once again, the big applause. There are so many things to like, and each one of them, and I'm going to give you my critical evaluation, each one of them, the whole piece is about Edgar Allan Poe. It opened with a book, and it closed with the quill pen and all that. Very, very, very clever. And then the other thing, I'm just emphasizing what people already know, it's really instructional. So people say, well, we've heard about Poe Cottage, and now, so congratulations on doing it. You had a favorite one? Which one was your favorite one?
Well, the zoo was my personal favorite, although Poe was kind of like a pet project that we had, because We have been talking about Poe for a while, and I really wanted to do this in time for October.
You talked about it because you knew about Edgar Allan Poe, or because it was something that you said, we ought to learn something about this?
It was something that I had learned from research from a separate project that we were working on, and I was like, okay, this is Halloween, I really want to do this for him.
Right.
And I just thought it was an interesting thing where we take a famous person who's not from the Bronx but has some kind of history here, and also it's a little different from the others in that there is a kind of inherent sadness to it, but it's also educational, like there's a little hope.
Parks, you said this was the first one?
Parks was the first one.
Parks was the first one. Is there a reason why that was first, or it just, we decided this is
at
what
the
we
time-
founded the concept on?
Yeah, we founded the concept on it. It was something that was like, as we were saying, like people, we kind of like, for these, we were like, we had the topic and we were like, people know about this, but how much do they really know? So we were like, oh, well, does people know how much park space there is and in the Bronx? And I don't think people think about how green the Bronx is. So we were like, well, that's a great one to start with.
Well, I was going to say maybe they ought to. So we are going to see how green the Bronx is right now. And so let's take a look at Get to Know the Bronx from BronxNet Television and Parks. So when you saw, I mean, this was the shortest of them. So when you did it and you saw the result, who was it that said, I think we're on to something here? Or you both did?
I think we were both very happy with
You
it.
were very happy
We were
with
very
it.
happy with it, and the timeline that we were able to get it done in, and we didn't have to make any compromises about what we wanted to add or how we wanted it to look. So we felt very confident about that we could keep making more of them and make them more complex.
This was the launching pad. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to show one more, and then we'll talk about the future. We'll talk about the potential winning an Emmy. I'm presenting it tonight. They get it. The next one is where we go in the summertime, Orchard Beach. Let's take a look. Get to Know the Bronx. So tremendous, and you know it's uplifting, and I can't tell you how much I love the fact that you did the changing faces of the Bronx. You kept it, nice and current. I mean, just tremendous work. So, the most obvious question would be, what's next? Are you on to something now, and this will simply continue?
Yes. Currently, we have a couple more planned. I can tell you right now, I'm in the process of working on one for Woodlawn Cemetery,
Okay.
and that one's really exciting. Just because it again is a more animation-heavy one at the moment, especially because it's pretty
Of course,
famous.
because you're animating people who are in graves. That's
I'm
a lot of
keeping it
fun
lively.
opportunity.
I'm keeping it lively. As far as other projects, well,
we just keep going. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have
Yeah.
to say what they are. You said earlier in the program it takes about a month and a half for each one. Is that still, or have you been able to streamline it now that you've done, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 7 of them?
We've been able to streamline them. They don't take as long, and now it's more like we talk and we decide, can we afford to do this amount of complexity, which is
Right.
nice. So we've got sort of a 2-3 week window where we can complete the majority of it, and then maybe we say, oh, we can do another week or two to add some more things that we're really excited about.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the great BronxNet producer of graphics, Christine Mariani and Aria Feliciano. We couldn't be more proud, we couldn't be more pleased, and we couldn't be more excited about the next ones you're going to do. And we also couldn't be more excited about when is the night that you're going to win the Emmy? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I can't say that.
The 14th?
The 14th.
14th of?
April.
April, all right, next month. Congratulations and thank you on behalf of everybody in the Bronx for doing such wonderful, wonderful work.
Thank you for
On
having us.
BronxNet Television, where else? Great. Folks, if you have further questions or comments, and of course your comments are going to be like, oh my goodness, those were great, on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, then email them to us at BronxTalk@BronxNet.org. You can send us a tweet at BronxTalk. I'll post them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. You can check out our archives at BronxNet.org. You find BronxTalk by following the watch menu on the new BronxNet website. Our producer for this program is Helen Greenberg. Our director is William Guzman. Big ups, big congratulations to the kids of the Bronx who are just running with it and doing great, great work. Thank you so much for joining us. You good night.
The BronxNet series Get to Know the Bronx has received 2 Emmy Award nominations. Your Bronx is being recognized. The series features exciting facts about your borough's people, places, and history. Visit www.BronxNet.tv to watch your outstanding Emmy-nominated series and get to know the Bronx.